Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full Time, where we take you around the world of soccer, locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. Full Time is presented by the Game Sports Podcast and powered by 91 Network. You are listening to Season 4, Episode 25 of Full Time. I am your host, Daniel Scarpino, and with me is our co host, Gitano Gallo. Before we begin today's show, Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. With their two locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, you can download and access the Pizza Portal app so you can enjoy a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. A reminder, listeners, that recordings of Full Time occur weekly or bi weekly, and uploads to all of our platforms for public viewing and listening occur weekly or bi weekly as well. Folks, we welcome you back here to Full Time, where we get to talk about the beautiful game. G, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. It's a little sweaty. The weather's nice and warm here today, but not complaining about it at all. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, man, and I'm definitely looking forward to today's show because we got a lot to talk about. And in today's show, we will look at Euro 2024, the Copa America, the summer transfer market, and local soccer. As always, if anyone would like to listen to our previous content, please check us out at Full Time on the Game Sports Podcast and 91 Network. And without further ado, Gaetano, and to everyone who has taken the time to tune in here today, let's kick off. We get today's show started with reviewing the round of 16 from Euro 2024 and previewing the upcoming quarterfinals. Gee, the round of 16 brought to us some big moments. How did you feel about it, my friend?
Started off with a little heartbreak with Italy, but slowly ramped itself. Sorry, excuse me. Slowly ramped itself up to some phenomenal games in the second and third day. Uh, for me personally, the best game was the Austria-Turkey game. That was definitely the highlight of the round for me. But yeah, overall, fantastic.
Yeah, I am with you there. It was fun to watch, and I was glad that I was able to catch pretty much every single game. And yeah, that was completely and totally awesome. Apart, of course, from the Italy heartbreak. And what we're going to do now is we are going to talk about each game specifically from the round of 16 and the outcomes of those games. First, as we're going to have to go to, it was Switzerland up against the reigning champions of this tournament, Italy. It was not the stuff of champions by any stretch of the imagination from Italy. It was, however, as dominant as you'd like from Switzerland as they defeat Italy by a score of 2-0. Underwhelming to put it mildly from Italy. Not good tactically, squad selection, big questions, and not too many players can hold their head too high, at least in my opinion, walking out of that from the Italy side. But Switzerland, very good. So I'm going to hand it over to you here to give your thoughts on that match.
Yeah, I want to start with Switzerland. I want to keep kind of brief with them. No disrespect to them. I guess we're obviously more focused on talking about Italy between the two of us. They look great. Just solid defensively. That back line with Shara and Akanji is just phenomenal. Really didn't have to do much defensively. Italy didn't really cause any problems, but anything that Italy did create was pretty quickly shut down. And they were pretty clinical in front of the net. They didn't create a ton of chances, but the ones they did create, they scored. Looked great off set pieces, looked great defending set pieces, just looked really solid. And yeah, for Italy, I mean, I'm going to start by saying I didn't have massive expectations for this group going into the tournament. They're in a kind of a transitional phase. Basically the old guard is gone at this point. I think the only really older players in the squad were maybe El Shaarawy, who shouldn't have been there, and Jorginho, who is actually still a pretty decent player. I have no issue with him being in the squad. So yeah, this whole crop is there's no real superstars in it. It's not like back in the day. And I say that in quotations where Italy had like actual real world class players outside of Donnarumma and I'd say maybe Barella if you want to. I think he might just be on like the precipice there. It's a very average squad. It's a very average generation, I guess you could say, for Italy. So I didn't have huge expectations going in, but that was just an abysmal showing. Like just and I look at the games against Croatia and the game against Spain, like that's an average group playing really well. For what they are, weren't fantastic, but they did really well. If they had brought that level of effort, and if Spalletti had kind of got those games or got this game as tactically right as he did with the Croatia game, like Italy stood a chance, but his tactics were terrible, and this group was just not on it, and almost like it's like seeing them go out, it's almost like putting like taking an old dog out behind the shed and putting it out its misery. Like I didn't want to watch 90 more minutes of that because they were not very good.
No, and again, that definitely puts it mildly. We're being very gracious, if you will, here. But yeah, I didn't like it from start to finish. I know that we were talking before the game, during the game. It just didn't feel right with, again, the squad selection, the tactics that were used, and credit to Switzerland, they were completely and totally on it. But we never looked the threat, and I think that probably the only player that walks away from that specific game holding their head up high is Donnarumma, because I didn't see the sort of graft and the grind, and knowing that maybe that Italy was going to be up against it. It just seemed like Switzerland wanted it more, and like you said, transitional phase and what have you. But hopefully, moving forward, Italy can start to get things clicking. But again, a huge credit to Switzerland because they looked fantastic in all facets of play. Italy really never really looked a threat. England and Slovakia matched up in the round of 16 in a game that could be described in a multitude of ways. After England went 1-0 down, it was a stoppage time equalizer from England that forced extra time, thanks to Jude Bellingham. And in extra time, England's Harry Kane would find the winner en route to a 2-1 victory. England are through to the quarters somehow, some way. There are a million things that we could talk about here, even more so than the Italy one that we just talked about. But what are you saying on this one?
So where would you like to start with this one? Because there is a lot to talk about.
I'll start first by saying that Slovakia probably deserved a better fate, and a tip of the hat to them for what they did this tournament. So I'm going to start there.
Yeah, they for 95 minutes and 30 odd seconds were phenomenal. England created nothing for that whole stretch. And I don't want to call an overhead kick like that in the 95th minute lucky, but like it's as close to luck it can get without being lucky. It was a phenomenal piece of skill. And really, Slovakia, like that's not something that they're ever gonna, hang their head on. That it wasn't like they scored like an own goal or something stupid. Like that was, a brilliant, brilliant moment from Jude Bellingham. Um, Gareth Southgate should be thanking him for still being employed at this point, because if that doesn't go in, if he mistimes that by a fraction of a second, if he hits it just wide, like Southgate's unemployed. His tactics again, I don't. So Phil Foden, actually in an interview this morning, said that and when they train, they're like trying to like have possession and press and for like I not that I don't believe him, but like with how they've played so far in this tournament, it to me just it makes no sense. Um, I don't think his team selection in that game was. I don't think I never expect him to make a huge change in that. I will say his subs were very good in that game. Ivan Toney was fantastic to bring on. Um, really changed the game for England. Um, but yeah, they are very lucky to be going through, like just by the skin of their teeth. And I think this game against Switzerland, I think they are in for a really rude awakening.
Well, and the big thing is now, I mean, we started with Slovakia, giving them their praise. You almost think, and we've been saying it now, they've played 4 games, this will be their 5th. Something has to change. But the question is something going to change with Southgate? Because it's almost like he's so reluctant to change. To your point about the subs, again, did it right in the nick of time, I would say, because left it late, but it did work out in the end. But you almost feel like something's going to have to change. I know that there was some discussion today on various media outlets that they might be switching to a back five. That's how they were training today, with 5 defenders out of possession, 3 defenders in possession. That would probably mean a player like Bukayo Saka would play as a wing back, maybe Trent Alexander-Arnold as a wing back. Is this time for England to go now with 2 strikers? Does Ivan Toney get a start to play alongside Harry Kane? Does somebody in the middle of the park get dropped? I know they brought in Mainu, but does he go back down to the bench? People are talking about Bellingham needing rest. I can't foresee that happening. I don't see how you take a player like Phil Foden out of the 11. So a lot of questions need to be asked, but I would say, G, and I don't know if you're going to agree here, I think that something almost major has to change at this point if they stand a chance in the quarters.
It absolutely has to, 100% agree. But again, do I think Gareth Southgate will do anything major to change it? No. At best, you're going to see like Conor Gallagher come into the team, which is, again, not a terrible player, but that's kind of basically the really only real changes we've seen is him kind of coming in and out. and Trent coming in and out. Like it's not the level of change you'd expect for how poorly they're playing and how lucky they, even are to be in the tournament at this point.
Right. Yeah. And again, you have impact players and these sorts of things. Like Gallagher came on in extra time to sort of just chase down people and make life difficult. I don't foresee him coming in and being that sort of difference maker. And again, I'm not the England manager. I don't know who that difference maker is, but I do know, in fact, that something has to change. Otherwise, they will be had by Switzerland in the quarterfinal, and we're going to be talking about that very shortly. Romania and the Netherlands brought about plenty of conversation, and all of that conversation by the end of things was about the Netherlands. A 3-0 victory for the Netherlands over Romania would be the story that gets everyone talking, and it is the Netherlands who are through to the quarterfinals. Gitano, in my opinion, it was about as dominant as you'd like from the Dutch. They could have easily scored 8 or 9. They missed so many chances, but they looked good in the game. Romania never gave in. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, for as well as Romania played, yeah, the Dutch should have easily had a handful more. And obviously, they scored the ones that they did. They didn't concede any, which is great, but they're definitely going to want to be a little more clinical in front of the net progressing in this tournament. You don't want to waste too many chances like that. With Turkey coming up, that's again not an easy game, and you don't want a guy like Memphis Depay or Cody Gakpo to be missing big chances like that. But yeah, very, very comfortable for the Dutch. Just kind of the best way we can put it. They were just dominant from start to end. Romania put up a good fight, but at the end of the day, it was just the Dutch are just a class above.
I agree with that, and I do believe Romania will be back, at major tournaments very, very soon. They were awesome to watch, very entertaining. In the case of the Netherlands, if we want to go back to England for just a second, you can, at least in my opinion, from a coaching point of view, you can make some comparisons with the Netherlands and England. However, if you take a look at how much England does, sideways passes and negative passes, the Netherlands do their fair share as well. But if you take a look at how fast the Netherlands play in possession, yeah, they'll play backwards, but then that next pass, it's getting zipped in to midfield, and then it's going wide quickly. England, it seems like every player's taking 4 or 5 touches. So I think in the attack and in possession, the Netherlands, despite the fact that sometimes they play sideways and backwards, the speed and the pace and the rhythm of their passing is really good. And I've never really been a big Koeman guy, been a big fan of his as a manager, but I think that he's got this Netherlands team playing some decent football, G.
Yeah, his time at Everton and Barcelona were, not spectacular. Not terrible, but not spectacular. I don't know if it's just a perfect mix of his tactics and, finally having a really, really high quality group of players. Not that Barcelona team wasn't high quality, but you know what I mean? Like, just these guys, I think they just get it. They have the capability to do it. You have players at the back like Roger Van Dijk and Nathan Ake who can ping the ball around like that from the back. Like, that's a huge difference. I don't think he ever had center backs of that quality at Barcelona. And that's, I think, is probably the foundation of how he likes to play, especially as a former center back. Like, everything starts from there. But yeah, they just, I like that you said like rhythm, because that's like the big thing that I got from them was just like, it felt like everything was just like almost like a metronome. It was just like in perfect time, in perfect sync. And yeah, they looked fantastic.
Yeah, they were impressive to watch. And again, I believe going forward in the tournament, regardless of who they play, they are going to get chances in abundance. But it's a matter of being clinical in front of goal. Because if you don't take your chances, I don't care who you play against, especially at a tournament like this, you will be had and you will be found out. So long as Netherlands continue to generate the chances, which they will, if they could put the majority or even some of them away, they're in a very, very, very good spot. Another round of 16 matchup was the one that you mentioned earlier, your favorite, Austria and Turkey. An intense battle that went down to the wire ended in favor of 2-1 for Turkey. Turkey had to see it out for a large portion of that second half, but they held on for dear life, and they did get the victory and book their spot in the quarters. What can you say here?
Yeah, I mean, this game started off with fireworks. Demiral scoring inside the first minute, fastest goal, I think. I don't know if it was just around a 16 or all of knockouts in the Euros. But yeah, off to a flying start. I thought Turkey looked actually really good in the first half. Probably could have had 1 or 2 more. And then after getting the second one, and then Austria getting one back, it was just all Austria from that point. Yeah, holding on for dear life is maybe putting it like underwhelming a bit. Like, they they were hanging in there. Austria threw everything and the kitchen sink and the neighbor's kitchen sink. Like it was incredible to see two teams, not giants of world football, but two very even teams, just giving everything and then some. Yeah, definitely my favorite game in the tournament so far.
And a couple of interesting things on that too, from a Turkey perspective. I believe that this is their first time in a quarterfinal since 2008. I could be fact checked on that, but I did believe that I read that this morning. And I don't put a ton of stock into friendlies, Gitano. I know you are kind of in the same boat as me because squads get rotated and these types of things. However, in the 4 games leading up to this tournament for Turkey, they lost all 4 of their games. And I guess my question here is, do you feel like Turkey now is kind of hitting form at the exact right time?
Oh, absolutely. And, yeah, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't matter how many friendlies you lose in a row before a tournament. Like, if you put on a showing like this, like, doesn't matter. If Italy last year had lost all of their friendlies leading up to the Euros and then won it, like, does anyone care?
No.
No. And for Turkey, obviously, 42nd ranked in the world, not going into the tournament expecting to win. Making a quarterfinals, having lost all their friendlies, like, do they care? Nope.
No. And this is, I guess, sort of comparable to a Cinderella story of sorts, maybe March Madness or something like that, where a team just kind of maybe doesn't necessarily come out of nowhere, but it's not necessarily on anyone's immediate radar. And Turkey definitely deserves to be here for that that graft, that grind, that grit that they've been showing in this tournament. So kudos to them for making the quarters. The host Germany went up against Denmark in an entertaining clash. After Denmark had a goal ruled out for offside by the narrowest of margins, might I say, it was Germany who took advantage, scoring not once but twice to secure their spot in the quarterfinals. Germany wins by a score of 2-0. Denmark put up a proper fight, which they always do, but Germany get it done in the end. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought Denmark were great. I've seen a lot of complaints about the offside. I'm sure you've seen the picture, like the VAR lines, and I've seen so many people go, "Oh, like it's just barely offside. Like how can they disallow it?" It's like offside's black and white. Like there's no like you're onside until you're offside. Like there's no middle ground. There's no gray area. Um, so as hard done by as Turkey are, or sorry, not Turkey, Denmark are, like it was correctly disallowed the goal. Um, and then I think the VAR decision on the handball, it's tough. Um, I think the laws of the game were applied correctly. Is that a little tough the way the law is written? I would say so. I personally wouldn't have liked to see that. I thought he was just too close to, like, he had nowhere to move his hand. As a ref, like, how do you feel about those two calls?
Well, in terms of the offside, again, I'm with you. It's for the most part black and white. It's offside. It's offside. It's the narrowest of margins, and we're talking inches, really. It is what it is. It's unfortunate. I was watching the U.S. game with my dad the other day when they played against Uruguay, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Uruguay's goal, it was onside, and again, we're talking about like a shoestring, that basically kept that player onside to score. So for that, again, it is what it is. In terms of the handball, kind of brought me back to the Italy game when they played Croatia, a similar one against Davide Frattesi, when the hand's up here and then it does strike him on the hand. Does it necessarily affect the second phase of play? I guess that's another question you have to ask yourself as a referee. Maybe, maybe not. But in terms of how the law was applied, they probably got the decision right. Do I feel like it's a bit harsh because of the proximity? I do. But if the referee has to apply it in that way, I think that's kind of how it is. I do wonder though, and I'll get your opinion on this. The game was stopped temporarily for thunder and lightning, which we almost never see in professional football. Do you think that had a bearing on the game in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, so I just want to say, like, some of the pictures that came out of that though were friggin' awesome with the lightning in the background, like super like unsafe, but it looked really cool. Nobody was hurt, so it was fine. um, I I think yes and no. Um, Obviously, the Germans are going to say there was no issue because they went on and win. I don't think Denmark is going to, ever use that as an excuse. You know, as a team, they've never like really complained about things like that. Like they, outside of like the Christian Eriksen thing, like which the game was stopped and not played. Like that's a different thing. But like I feel like they're very much a team that's just going to let their play on the field, do the talking for them. They're not going to bitch and moan in the press about it. So yeah, like maybe not. It wasn't an overly long delay either. It was only about what 25, 30 minutes. Like
Well, 30 minutes.
yeah, like if it had been, like an hour or something longer, then maybe. But yeah, I don't think that had like too much bearing. Like I think the rain, if they want to complain about the pitch being waterlogged, that's a whole other story. But the delay itself, I don't think was much of an issue.
Yeah, nobody really talked about it after, so I'm more on side with you there. The David versus Goliath match between Spain and Georgia provided us with some really good football to discuss. After Georgia took an early 1-0 lead, it was Spain who answered the call, scoring 4 goals en route to a 4-1 victory and thus booking their spot in the quarterfinals. G was very hopeful in the beginning for Georgia, but the Spaniards prevailed and they showed that they are human. They finally conceded a goal. What can you say here?
Yeah, again, what a moment for Georgia. It's a 90-minute or longer game, but like the ball hits the back of the net, and your first thought is like, are they going to do it?
Right.
Like, of all the teams this tournament, are they going to knock out, the juggernaut that is Spain, especially the way they played in the group? But then, Rodri, top of the box, bottom corner. We've seen that story how many times now? And then from there's
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't mean it that way, but yeah, no. From that point on, Spain just kind of found their rhythm, uh, and unfortunately, by the end of the game, it was pretty comfortable for them. Those last couple goals were quite special. I thought Danny Olmo's goal, just the way they just cut through them, just like a hot knife through butter. It was beautiful to watch. Just yeah, pretty dominant from Spain outside of conceding the first goal there.
Yeah, I was again outside from conceding that first goal, as dominant as you'd like, and huge credit to Georgia for getting to that stage of the tournament because I'm pretty sure that 99% of people did not have them going there. I know we didn't, but kudos to them for sure. France and Belgium met up in an all-exciting matchup, which was set to entertain the masses. It was an 85th minute own goal that sent France through to the quarterfinals. France win by a score of 1-0. Gitano, France have scored 3 goals in 4 matches in this tournament. One of those has been a penalty. 2 of those have been own goals. Very, very interesting from this French side, seeing as they have so much attacking talent. But they do get through over Belgium, and good teams know how to get over the line. You can attest to that being a Manchester City fan. But what's your analysis here, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, this is like the beauty of like tournament football. Like over a 38 game, domestic season, this obviously wouldn't kind of be sustainable. But in a tournament where you need to win, and not even really win 7 games, get out of the groups and you only have to win 4 games. Um, yeah, they are riding their luck. Like you said, good teams find a way to win. Obviously, a heartbreaking way for Belgium to go out and own goal in the 85th minute. One of their most senior players, I think probably the most capped or second most capped in that squad. Um, just a brutal way to go out. But yeah, if I was a French fan, I'd be a little worried about the lack of production. It's not even like the own goals are like Mbappe like making a chance and the defender trying to block it and it's getting credited as an own goal. Like they're not creating a ton. They're not generating a ton offensively. They've looked really tame in front of goal. I've seen this comparison. Canada and France have actually scored the same amount of goals in their respective tournaments right now.
Yeah.
Like that's concerning if you're France, and it's no disrespect to Canada, but it's not what anyone really expected going in. It's not how France have historically been these last few years with this group. So yeah, riding their luck for sure, but I mean, got them through. Like I said, heartbreaking way for Belgium to go out, but again, Lukaku was just how is he a professional footballer? Like I've seen guys in our men's league who I think you could put in those situations and you'd at least like they might not score, but like they would do something better. Like he is just something else.
Yeah, and you know what? You got to wonder for that Belgium squad. That's probably the end of the road for many of them, at least in my opinion. The only two, well, I shouldn't say the only two, because I think that Belgium put up a good fight, but Doku looked really good in the game. De Bruyne looked in the game. There were a couple of defensive phases of play where Belgium looked really good. But kind of going back to France here, we compare them to England in some ways. It's going to go one of two ways, I think, for them in the quarterfinals. Either this trend is going to continue, just like we talked about with England. If nothing changes, that trend's going to continue. So if something doesn't change for France, they're not going to be generating much, or maybe they're just saving it and then it's just going to go boom and they're going to start exploding and scoring a bunch of goals. So I feel like it can go either way for France. Again, being the nation that they are, the team that they are, where they've been, how much they've won, I do feel like it could go the latter. I think that it could go boom and they could start scoring goals, G.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason not that I doubt that, but I kind of have reservations about that is because they're playing a solid defensive team in Portugal in this round. I think they're due for a game where they at least generate a ton. Whether they finish it and get the end result is another story. I feel like this might be the game for them to do a lot of that chance generation. João Cancelo and Nuno Mendes as wing backs are going to be pushing really high up. I think there's going to be a lot of space for France to exploit. But again, are they actually going to finish these chances? I don't think so.
Yeah, and again, they're probably best route, to your point, is playing him behind in those areas there to the likes of Mbappe and others. But will they? Who knows? Remains to be seen. And finally, it was Portugal and Slovenia in the round of 16. This game went the distance, and as things ended 0-0, and it needed penalties to decide it. Not one, not two, but 3 penalty saves from Diogo Costa saw Portugal through as winners by a score of 3-0 on penalties. There was a penalty miss in extra time from Ronaldo, a missed breakaway from Chesko on Slovenia, and then the penalty kicks were pretty fascinating to say the least. But Portugal get themselves through to the quarterfinals in the toughest of ways. A fantastic showing, have to say that, from Slovenia. Not to mention their coach got sent off. Crazy stuff. But there was so much that went on in this game. This personally was my favorite game. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have to start with the Ronaldo penalty miss. That was kind of the story of this game, or like the biggest story of the game. I've never wanted someone to miss a penalty more in my life. It was just one of those ones where he has done a whole lot of nothing in this tournament. Specifically this game, I don't think he looked good at all. I think they're just holding out hope for him to do something. I just think as a starter, he's not that guy anymore. If they want to bring him off the bench for 30, 35 minutes, I don't have an issue with that. But yeah, to see him miss the penalty, and not just miss, like have it saved too. Fantastic save.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was fantastic. I think Slovenia did themselves a real justice with their performance here. Like definitely, on the day could have gone through. Obviously, penalties is a coin flip. But yeah, they looked great. Not that they would go on and win the tournament or anything, but fantastic performance from them. And then in the shootout, I'm trying to think of the last time I've seen a keeper perform like that in a shootout. I think Gigi Buffon saved 3 in like the Confederations Cup in like 2013, and like that's the only thing I can think of. Like that was special.
Yeah, 2014. I think it was 2014. The Netherlands. I don't know if Van Hal was in charge at that time, but they swapped.
Yes. Sillissen for I forget Stecklenburg, I think it was, or the other way around.
Yeah, so that's the only other time I feel like I can remember something like that happening. But beyond that, yeah, the game itself had so many moments where it sort of flipped on its head and then it went back and then flipped on its head again. So again, you could argue that Slovenia in certain parts of the match were actually the better side. Portugal could not break them down in the moments that they did. All Black was fantastic. He made some huge saves. So Slovenia, for being what they are, who they are, I think that they had a fantastic tournament. So kudos to them. And Portugal, like you said earlier regarding England, they get by the skin of their teeth. So all in all, pretty fascinating stuff. So to review our picks, G, you got 6 out of 8 picks correctly, with only really faltering, of course, with Italy and then England. I was also able to pick 6 out of 8 correctly. I faulted with Italy, of course, as well, and Turkey. But looks like we're in fine form right now.
We've hit our like mid-tournament like stride. Like we're rolling now. We got doesn't matter how we did in the friendlies. It's all about the knockout rounds, how we do from here.
Exactly. And it's now time to go into those quarterfinals where we have so much more to look forward to. And the first quarterfinal, G, that we're going to look at will be England up against Switzerland. The media is all over this one, Gitano, and there's a lot of speculation, of course, for what could happen and what maybe can continue to happen one way. But it all comes down to Saturday and what is going to happen in this game ultimately. So I'm going to turn it over to you here, my friend. What is going to happen this Saturday between England and Switzerland?
So I think that England isn't going to change anything, or they won't change anything dramatically enough. Um, I think the Swiss defense is just going to have them on lock. The English attack's just not been sharp at all at this point in the tournament. And the Swiss defense has just been so good. I don't see that kind of flipping. I think the Swiss are going to generate enough chances. Not they're going to generate a ton, but they'll generate enough to cause some trouble, get their 1 or 2 goals, and I think they're going to go through.
Call me dumb, call me naive, call me, I wouldn't say hopeful because I could care less if England win. I'm going to stick with England. I don't know why, because I'm with you. I don't really think anything's going to change. Maybe one change, but there's almost that sort of like glimmer where it's like, well, something could change. It could, even though it probably won't. It could. And I just think for their quality, despite the fact that Switzerland has looked so good, I think that their manager's fantastic. I'm going to, again, same as last round, reluctantly take England. So we'll have our first disagreement there, even though I don't necessarily disagree with you by any means, but you'll take Switzerland. I'll take England. The next quarterfinal will be between the Netherlands and Turkey. Gee, it's a matchup that will feature an interesting tactical battle and not to mention an even greater physical one. But what do you think is going to occur in this game?
I've got a weird feeling about Turkey. The Dutch have been very wasteful in front of goal. And I feel like this might be the game where it kind of comes back and bites them on the butt. Just a weird gut feeling about Turkey. I think they might squeak this one out.
You got to go with your gut, and I love that. And I'm big on, especially as a coach, I would be so concerned with my players and my team if we weren't generating the chances. So, for example, you can generate 10 chances in a game and score none. I would be more concerned if we didn't generate any chances at all or generated maybe just 1 or 2. The Netherlands are still generating chances in abundance. They're pretty solid defensively. I think that, and funny enough, they actually got through, I believe, as a third place team, one of the best third place teams, which is interesting. But I'm going to go with the Netherlands. I think that they'll generate enough in this game to beat Turkey. And I do believe that they're going to start scoring a little bit more. Memphis Depay, I think he's due for a few. And I think Cody Gakpo will continue his form. So I'm going to go with the Netherlands. Our sights will be set on Spain and Germany as these two powerhouse footballing nations meet up in the quarterfinals. Gitano, you and I both buzzing for this one, as is the footballing world, but only one of these teams is going to go through to the semifinals. So who from these two teams is going to do it?
So I'm going to bookmark this one right now. This is going to be the best game of the entire tournament. I have a feeling about it. It's just, I think they're just the two best teams in the tournament playing at their highest level coming into this game. I expect absolute fireworks, but I'm going to go with Spain. I think Germany are like right up here, just fantastic. I think Spain just got that little bit of an edge. Just the way the whole team is playing. Kai Havertz has had a good tournament, but he's still missed, a couple of big chances. You don't see the Spanish team doing that. They're scoring, almost at will at this point. And I think they're everyone's just rolling. Everyone's playing at the kind of their top level. And again, I don't think it's going to be much of a difference. Couple hairs, separate the two of them. But yeah, I do have Spain going through.
My friend, it's the first time that we agree here. I also have Spain going through, and I'm just going to put this one out there right now. Yes, I am with you. This is the one I'm looking forward to most. Probably going to be the best game of the tournament. It's a shame that one of these teams has to go out in the quarterfinals. I would have loved both of these teams to play another game and get to the semifinal, but this is football. It's the side of the draw that they both ended up on. But I'm going to go Spain as well, and I think it's going to be so close. Germany's going to be what they've been all tournament. I think Spain's going to be what they've been all tournament, but I think Spain will just edge it. And finally, it is Portugal who will go to battle against France. Gitano, it's not on the same level as Spain, Germany, but it is another fantastic matchup that we have to look forward to here. Who is going to get it done?
Yeah, this is like just under for my excitement level for this match. So again, star-studded all the way through. We're talking about the best of the best in world football. Um, I think Portugal's defense is going to get them through here. I think they're going to create enough. They have enough offensively between Rafael Leao, unfortunately Cristiano Ronaldo, Bernardo Silva. I think they'll get one or two goals, and just their defense has been so fantastic this tournament. Not even in their like goals conceded, but just like the chances conceded, they have not given up a ton. Diogo Costa is playing the tournament of his life at this point in net. I think just everything is leaning that way for Portugal. I think they can't carry that through.
Me too. And I don't have, and somebody can call me a hypocrite because they would say, well, you don't have enough confidence in France to go through because I'm also taking Portugal. But somehow I have enough confidence in England to go through. Call me a hypocrite there. But in terms of what France has generated in attack, really hasn't been much of anything. Like I said, 3 goals in 4 matches, 2 of them own goals, 1 of them a penalty. I don't necessarily think that it's going to happen for them. If they were playing against somebody other than Portugal, because to your point, so solid in defense, I would say maybe, as I said earlier, it could go boom and they could start scoring a bunch of goals. I don't foresee that happening for France in this game. I think that Portugal is going to get 1-2 goals, and I think that's going to be enough to get them over the line. So, in terms of our picks, you're going to go Switzerland, Turkey, Spain, and Portugal. I'm going to go England, the Netherlands, Spain, and Portugal. So we got a lot to look forward to, and it all kicks off this weekend in the quarterfinals at the Euros. First game starting Friday, July 5th, with 2 games being played then, and then 2 games Saturday, July 6th. All games can be watched on your local television sports network. And in our next episode of Full Time, we will be able to highlight the winners of the quarterfinals and those teams who are advancing to the semifinals of Euro 2024. Another cup competition that we have our eye on, of course, is the Copa America. The group stage is all done, and just like the Euros, we set our eyes on the quarterfinals. How did you enjoy the group stage?
This was chaos. This
Yep.
was just insanity all the way through, and I'm all here for it. I loved it.
I'm with you, man. I also loved it, and I mean, you can look to any game that you want. The intensity, the sort of almost like lack of tactics, if you want to call it that, awesome to watch. Just because,
The knife fight behind the bar.
Yeah, it was the perfect way to summarize it last episode, and people going to war every single game. It was awesome. And what we're going to do right now, we're going to go through each group, and we'll take a look at how things finished up before we preview the quarterfinals. So in Group A, to start things off, Argentina did top the group, going perfect. 3 wins, no draws, no losses. Our beloved home nation of Canada get that critical second spot and book their ticket into the quarters, getting 4 points of their own. Chile and 3rd, and Peru and in 4th. Gitano, we both picked Argentina at the top of the group, and that, of course, happened. I don't really think that was ever in doubt. And I backed our Canadians to get second, and they did. Your thoughts on this group, my friend?
Yeah, I've never been so happy to be wrong. I think I had Chile going through second, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Canada. It wasn't pretty in any way, shape, or form, but I almost prefer it that way. Like they put their heads down, just went to grind, battled, as hard as they physically could. And when I say physically, I mean like physically. Those games were rough. But yeah, that was a very proud moment to watch us, qualify for the group stage of Copa America for the first time. I thought Jonathan David, especially with the goal against Peru, was huge. Everyone, Max Crepeau, best player and on the roster. He's looked unbelievable. Just massive for that group to qualify for the knockout round. And really, like the way the bracket kind of plays out, like we have a decent shot of making some noise here.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to it, and a tip of the hat to Canada because they deserved it. And again, Argentina, they looked as good as ever. So yeah, happy, of course, that our home nation is going through, and it's all eyes next for what they do in the quarterfinals. B gave us some surprise as Venezuela went perfect with 3 wins and 9 points to top the group. Ecuador and Mexico get 4 points each, but Ecuador snagged the second spot thanks to their goal difference of +1. Mexico is out as a result, and our dark horse, Jamaica, had a very underwhelming tournament, losing all 3 of their games and only scoring 1 goal. Gee, let's talk about Venezuela's dominance and that battle that went for second place.
Yeah, did not expect that from Venezuela at all. That was, I would say, probably the biggest shock of the group stage so far. Yeah, they just looked like they're from another planet playing in that group. Just completely outclassed everyone, really. And then, yeah, another CONCACAF giant in Mexico failing to make it out of the group. Just a poor showing from them, from what you kind of expect from them. They've been like a very, very good national team for a while now. Have made noise in World Cups previously, like this group. So to see them crash out in the group, just super underperforming from them. But also shout out to Ecuador for grinding out those results. A huge battle against them. Getting that draw against Mexico to secure it for them. Not an easy game to play, but yeah, I thought they played pretty well.
Definitely. And again, you always have one team who kind of surprises you in these sorts of tournaments, if not 2, sometimes 3. And in this case here, Venezuela, a pleasant surprise, and Ecuador too, really good of them to grind their way through, and they completely and totally deserve to go through. Group C was tight, nervy, and entertaining to say the least. Uruguay topped the group, getting all 9 points from their 3 matches, and it is Panama who gets second and qualify for the knockout round. Get this, for the first time ever in a major tournament. The United States and Bolivia are out. Gitano, absolute scenes here with this group and some big time results. What are you saying here, man?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the happier Canada days I've ever had. The U.S. crashing out. I'm not sure if you were watching it or if you've seen. So the U.S. needed a draw in the Panama Bolivia game
Yep.
to qualify essentially because they were at that point tied with Uruguay. Greg Berhalter, their coach, signals from the bench, "Oh, it's 1-1 in the other game," and 10 seconds later they concede to Uruguay. Just could not have been scripted better. But I think that's almost a microcosm of the issue with the U.S. Soccer Federation, the fact that they're going into a massive game against Uruguay saying, "Oh, we're going to rely on a draw in the Panama Bolivia game." They really should have been going out trying to win that game for themselves. But I think that group, I saw someone, I wish I could remember which Fox analyst said it, but for the amount of talent in that group, probably the most talented, just based on individual player talented group the U.S. has had. You look back at like the 2000s and, the guys like Clint Dempsey and Landon Donovan and teams that were founded in, NCAA players and MLS players, like they went to tournaments and they went to war. They battled so hard. They left everything on the field. Definitely, no offense to them, like less talent in those teams, but it was a team. It was a unit together. And for all the talent in this U.S. squad, it just felt like 11 random dudes this entire tournament on the field, like just no cohesion, no not that Berhalter's tactics were awful. He's a terrible coach, but just everything about that whole group, it just felt off. I had a bad feeling about them going into this. I was super happy to get that prediction right. But everything was just off. Like it just felt wrong. And for, like I said, probably their most talented ever group to get grouped in Copa America, against Panama and Bolivia, like that is, I think, if not an all-time low, like definitely up there with one of the all-time lows for this program.
Yeah, I think apart from when I believe they failed to qualify by losing
the Trinidad and Tobago game.
That one, I put this one right up there with it. And what I'm also going to say too regarding Berhalter, talk about on the show all the time. I defend managers to no end. I don't defend this, and you know what? He's not going to get the sack. They're going to keep him.
No, why would he?
right? It's yeah, the U.S. were really poor. Again, we have to talk about as well Uruguay, how good they were, and of course Panama too. You picked it spot on, and they get through to knockout for the first time ever. So again, with Uruguay and Panama, I mean that's awesome, and it's at the expense of the states as well.
Yeah, even better. Yeah, Uruguay looked just stupid good. Just a class above everyone in this group. Luis Suarez rolling back the years somehow.
Yeah,
you know, yeah, I just thought they were just everything about Uruguay. I love that team's actually like it's a very underrated national team. It's a very very solid all the way through. Fede Valverde just looked fantastic because of course he did. He's
yeah.
I hate the fact that he plays at Real Madrid. He's one of my favorite players just in world football. Just can do everything. He looked fantastic. I'm super looking forward to their game against Brazil. I feel like that's going to be, again, one of the best games of the tournament. And Panama coming through, just huge for them. Like, we talk about Georgia and, even Turkey and Austria in the Euros. Like, this is, an equivalent moment for Panamanian football. And, yeah, and again, to have it at the expense of the US is just like that much sweeter for us and for them.
Without doubt, all thumbs up here at full time, no doubt about that. So kudos, of course, to Uruguay and Panama. And in Group D, Colombia topped the group with 7 points, and it is Brazil who comes second with 5 points. Costa Rica and Paraguay are eliminated. G, it was a tight group apart from Paraguay. What can you say on this?
Yeah, I want to start by giving a shout out to Costa Rica for getting a 0-0 draw with Brazil. I mentioned in the last show, but I guess again, that's Costa Rica keeping a Brazil team with Vinny Jr. and Rodrigo and Savinho and all those guys off the scoreboard is incredible for them. And also kind of how that ended up playing out for the group. Seeing Colombia end up taking first place in the group instead. They look pretty good as well. James Rodriguez kind of rolling it back to the 2014 World Cup with his performances. I loved seeing that. Do you have any idea where he plays club football right now?
No,
This isn't like a I know the answer and I'm testing you. I genuinely forgot that he existed.
because he had that. Was it not the brief stint in the Premier League? Very, very, very brief.
For Everton,
Yeah.
that was when Carlo was there. So that was 2-3 years ago.
Yeah,
and then
I don't know where he ended up.
Yeah. Okay. Neither do I. But he's apparently in fine form for Colombia, which is again fantastic to see for the sport. Yeah, Brazil's going to be a little disappointed to finish second in the group, but still going through is not the end of the world for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we did pick Brazil and Colombia to go through. It just happened to be in reverse order. So when it comes to our picks, Gitano, we both had to pick 8 teams to go through. You got 5 correct, with having Chile, Mexico, and Jamaica slipping up. I also get 5 correct. Mexico, Jamaica, US, letting me down. I should have never went with the US, but neither here nor there. But again, pretty good form that we're in here. G, how do you like that?
Yeah. Again, the US shouts a personal favorite. That's going to be like a milestone one for me here that I'm going to remember. And then Mexico and Jamaica just letting us both down really badly.
Without doubt. And it is now time that we do look ahead to the quarterfinals. And in the first matchup that we're going to look at, Gitano, we have Argentina and Ecuador. What do you foresee happening here?
Yeah, Ecuador have had a good tournament. Argentina's Argentina. It's Messi, it's Alvarez, it's everyone. They should be winning that game. Not comfortably, but they definitely have more than enough quality to win that game. I would expect them to win it.
Yeah, and I'm there with you. I don't really have too much to say apart from the fact that Argentina is Argentina. They've been doing what they've been doing, and I believe that they will continue to do what they have done. It will be Venezuela and Canada in the next quarterfinal. Gee, I already have some nerves for this game given how good Venezuela have looked this tournament. And even if they didn't look good, I would still have nerves. But do you see a way that Canada can get over the line and through to the semifinals?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say I have no confidence in this. I do have some confidence, but probably playing the most informed team in the tournament. Like we've mentioned when I was talking about France, Canada really only have the 1 goal. The other 2 games were draws. It's tough. They're going to need Jonathan David to score a goal. They need to get that. And the other thing is Fonzie's got to do something. He's been all right, but getting him productive in the final third is going to be, I think, the key difference here for Canada. If they can get him going, get him creating, that's going to maybe give us the edge. If he has another quiet game in the final third, I don't see us having a lot of a chance here. I'll go Canada. I can't not. I can't not.
You know what? I've got to back our Canadians as well. We're going to have to be spot on defensively, just given how good Venezuela has been this tournament. Again, I didn't predict them going through. I didn't think that they would do it. They have done it and some. We've got to be spot on defensively. And when we do get our chances, because I believe that the chances will come, they'll be few and far between, but they will come. We've got to put the ball in the back of the net. And it really is as simple as that. And I do believe, if I looked at the bracket correctly, it would set up a rematch against Argentina, which again doesn't. Life would just get even more difficult for Canada and us. But at least you give yourself a chance if you get there. I'm going to back Canada as well. It's going to be so tough, so tight, but hopefully we can get it done. Another matchup that we can look forward to is Colombia and Panama. Gee, it won't be easy for either of these teams, but who do you think will get it done?
So Colombia should get it done, just with the quality in their team alone. But this Panama team's been really surprising this tournament. They've looked really good. For the fun of it, I'm going to go Panama. I like the Cinderella story. I like qualifying for the out of the group stage for the first time. Colombia team is nothing spectacular. Not that they're bad, but there's nothing outstanding about them. I think they're there for the taking, and I think Panama are going to rise to the occasion.
And that could very well happen. If it did happen, I think that would be great for all intents and purposes, and I certainly would not be mad about it. But I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say Colombia, purely because I just think that they probably have a little bit more quality in that team. But if Panama could keep riding this wave, we know in football anything is possible. So we will endeavor to see what happens there. And the last quarterfinal matchup to look at is Uruguay and Brazil. Gitano, probably the biggest and most looked forward to match, I would say, by most people. What can you say about this one?
Yeah, outside if we get an Argentina-Brazil final, this is going to be your game of the tournament in terms of just the quality on the field. Again, talking about some of the best players in the world, Fede Valverde, Vinny Jr. We can sit here and name them all. Should be an absolute shit show. I expect the kind of the quality of like the European players, the players who play in Europe, you know what I mean? I expect that quality to come through, but also kind of the theatrics and dramatics of it being South American teams. This is to me just the perfect blend of that. It's going to be an absolute war. Luis Suarez is probably going to bite somebody, but I'm going to have Brazil go through.
Fair enough. And you're going to take Brazil. I've wrestled with this one, I must say, because against the U.S., Uruguay, they had chances against them, but the U.S. just didn't have that bit of quality in the final third, we'll call it. I think probably Brazil will, but I just think like Uruguay's just nuts. Like, I don't know, they'll just run through a brick wall. And I'm going to go Uruguay. And I don't know any other way to explain it other than they're crazy. It's wild. So
they all have a screw missing somewhere, like every single one of them.
Like when my dad and I were watching the U.S. versus Uruguay game, we're watching it, whatever, we're chatting, and he just looks at me and goes, is this field smaller than the one at the Euros? Because of how many tackles are getting put in. I was like, no, Uruguay's just nuts. Like they're just like that. So
like I said, like knife fight behind the bar. Like to me, when I say that, like I picture Uruguay and somebody else. Like they're just. And it's the old Leeds coach is their coach. His name is escaping me right now. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, one of the best in the world. But his vibes are just like perfect for their insanity. It's just like a perfect marriage of like insanity. I love it so much. I'm a little disappointed they didn't play that well in the World Cup, because I feel like that would have been kind of the stage for them to kind of it would have just been like that level more of running through a brick wall and just like, yeah, I love this Uruguay team, but I just think Brazil's got more quality. I think they're going to finish them off here.
And you know what, to your point, and I agree with you, Brazil definitely does have more quality. But yeah, I just think when you take a look at teams, one thing that you can control, and I've always many things you can control, but it's your effort, and the effort from Uruguay is not going to waver. So I think that can kind of propel them. You can get things wrong tactically, you can make mistakes technically, like missing chances or misplacing passes, but you know that Uruguay is going to put everything on the line. And just for folks at home, Marcelo Bielsa, the coach of Uruguay, he has this thing that he does in training called murder ball. That just goes to show with how this Uruguay team plays. Gitano, you're taking Argentina, Canada, Panama, and Brazil. I'm going to go Argentina, Canada, Colombia, and Uruguay. The quarterfinals will be played on Tuesday, July 4th, Friday, July 5th, and Saturday, July 6th. And just like the Euros, all of these games can be watched on your local television sports network. And in our next episode of Full Time, we will be able to highlight the quarterfinal winners and those teams who are advancing to the semifinals. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you're listening to Full Time on the Game Sports Podcast and 91 Network. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. You can download and access the Pizza Portal app for any of the 2 locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Have a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. The summer transfer market continues to crack on, and we will continue to highlight for you some of the updated moves that have taken place this window. Following transfer market news comes from The Guardian, so be sure to check them out as they provide up-to-the-minute transfer market news. First, it's Taylor Hardwood Bellis, who goes from Manchester City to Southampton for a fee of $20 million. The Saints' playoff triumph, which saw them gain promotion back to the Premier League a month ago, sees a permanent deal come through for the center-back who was a mainstay during Southampton's promotion campaign. Newly promoted Southampton trigger this deal. What can you tell us about this player, and what can we expect to see from him this season in the Premier League?
Yeah, he's a fantastic young center back, 22. He fits the model of like the new age, in quotations, English center back. Big physical guy, but can ping the ball around really, really well. Super comfortable on the ball. So he's actually played a handful of games for the senior team at City over the years. I think only about 9 or 10 over the couple of years. But and just like Carabao Cup games, FA Cup games, I always, he's kind of slotted right in, didn't look, too out of place. Physically, a specimen, big enough kid. But yeah, he had a fantastic season previously with Burnley in the championship with Vincent Kompany. Obviously, the City link there getting him in, where he was a key part of their defense as they went back into the Premier League. Again, went on loan with Southampton. It was an obligation to buy if they got promoted, so that was what triggered the deal. Which is fantastic for City making $20 million on an academy player, but also fantastic for him to kind of play such a crucial role in in Southampton's promotion, and now be able to kind of battle in the Premier League to keep them up next year. Fantastic young player. I know City have some sort of buyback clause, something in there, or right to first refusal, whatever kind of deal it is. I would not be overly shocked in a couple of years to see him back at City. He is that good.
Wow, that's awesome, and I'm glad that you provided that analysis, because I obviously don't know very much about the player, but I definitely am looking forward to seeing him in the Premier League this season. And if you're saying that he's that good that he could end up back at City, the boy definitely has a promising future. Luis Sinisterra goes from Leeds United to Bournemouth for a fee of $20 million. The flying Colombian attacker has suffered recent injury setbacks, but is described as a dribbling wizard. Tano, what can you say here?
Yeah, so I remember him back in his Feyenoord days. I played like FIFA, and his card was always sick because he had super high dribbling stats and like 5-star skills. But yeah, went to Leeds. Wasn't overly terrible there. 8 goals and 28 appearances. Not shabby. It's not fantastic, but it's definitely nothing to to turn your back on. 3 goals and 23 appearances for Bournemouth on loan. He looked a lot better, just a little more comfortable there. And so now to be kind of a permanent deal there, I think is fantastic for them.
I think so too, and I think that it's going to bode well for Bournemouth to add to their decent, I would say, attacking talent that they already have. So Bournemouth looking good with that move for sure. Luis Guilherme goes from Palmeiras to West Ham United for $19.5 million. The talented teenager says that he, quote, hopes for a beautiful journey with the Hammers after joining for a fee that could see an additional $7 million in add-ons. Gitano, your analysis of this one.
Yeah, I don't have too much on this kid, and I say kid. He's born in 2006, so he's still a child to me.
Yeah.
45 appearances for Palmeiras in Brazil. Only the one goal, but as a central midfielder, that kind of wasn't what's expected from him. He's a very creative player from what I've been reading about him. So I think that's something that West Ham are definitely going to try and replace Lucas Paqueta probably not playing, whether it's through that suspension or him leaving. So I think trying to replace him with, not that it has to be a Brazilian playmaker, but just happens to be another Brazilian playmaker. I really like that move for them.
I do too, and I think it's one of those that will come good in a few years' time. Very young, but the ceiling for him is so high. So I definitely have high hopes for him as well. Abdul Fatawu goes from Sporting to Leicester City for 17 million. Fatawu scored 6 goals and had 13 assists whilst on loan. The permanent move was triggered when the Foxes sealed promotion. There's a lot of promising talk here for this player, as he was also, and I didn't know this, on the 2021 Next Gen shortlist, which is a pretty reputable list to get onto. So your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, put up good numbers for Leicester already. I think kind of locking that deal in for them is huge. Obviously, Jamie Vardy is not the Jamie Vardy of 2015 anymore. Definitely going to have to be replacing those goals. He's not exactly a central forward, prefers the wings, but still replacing those goals by committee, I think is huge. And again, for him to be so young, 20 years old, uh, really good for their kind of current, and I think also for the future of Leicester City, kind of to try and avoid that relegation again and stay in the Premier League.
Without doubt, and I don't know certain, and I might be talking out of turn here. There is a potential point deduction on the table for Leicester to start the Premier League season. Again, I don't know 100%. So to get somebody in there in the Premier League again, young, but somebody who can score goals and potentially provide that for a team that is going to need it, I think that's going to bode well for Leicester. And as always, we did not cover every single transfer that has taken place this window. As of recent, are there any that we left out that caught your eye?
Nothing confirmed, but I would love to get your opinion on the rumors of Calafiori to Arsenal. Yeah, it's a little bit of I think so. My 2 cents on it as an Italy fan is I didn't know who this guy was 3 weeks ago, and now he's being linked with like a 75 million pound move. He's good, but is that what Arsenal need right now?
So I'll answer that last part first. It's not what they need right now. But I'm going to go back to something you said a few weeks ago. There's always a couple of players that turn up at these tournaments and just kind of set things alight. I'm not saying that he set things alight because Italy were not particularly great by any stretch of the imagination, but he's good. And I had to do a little bit more looking into for him. Bologna, I don't know. You know what the other thing is, too, Gitano? He's been linked with a lot of teams, like a lot are in for him. I just think that sort of price tag is what kind of put Arsenal to the front of the queue.
Yeah. The other thing is like there's not at all a shortage of like young promising center backs in world football right now, and I think if Arsenal in quotations miss out on him, like the next kid is going to be right there. I don't think he's you know again I think he's a very very good player. I don't think he's a game breaker in the sense that if you miss out on him, like Declan Rice to me is like a game breaker. Like
Yeah.
if you miss out on Declan Rice, there's no Declan Rice coming up anytime soon. I don't think Calafiori is quite that. Um, so yeah, I don't see the need for it when I think there's these other holes in your squad that that 65 70 million could fill a lot better.
Yeah, and I mean, he can use his left foot, Calafiori, left-footed. So the other thing that I possibly considered is that because again, Arteta has a lot of big ideas. Sometimes they work, sometimes they do not. Like Thomas Partey starting the season as a right back, like obviously that was not it. But again, it was a big idea that could have worked. I almost wonder if he's going to sort of develop a new position if Calafiori does come into the team. But as of right now, I'm gonna give it not a thumbs down, but I'm gonna give it a thumb sideways. If that move happens, I certainly won't be mad about it. But the big question that you ask, is that something that we need right now at Arsenal? Probably not. There's other holes to fill. But again, as we always do on Full Time, we always keep track of these ones. So as the summer does continue, you can get all of your biggest transfer market news right here on Full Time. And now it is time for a local soccer update. With summer soccer in full swing here in the city of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, we get ready for the second edition of the Copa de Giovanni soccer tournament, which will be hosted right here in the Soo. Last year was the first annual Copa di Giovanni soccer tournament, which commemorated and celebrated the late Tony Celli, a staple in our soccer community for more than 60 years, having contributed massively to youth soccer and club soccer in our city. All money raised from the tournament was donated to the local soup kitchen right here in Sault Ste. Marie. The tournament this year is back for its second installment with bigger groups, more teams, and more divisions. There will be an open men's division, an over 45 men's division, an over 35 men's division, and women's open division, as well as an open women's fun division. Gitano, last year the tournament was spectacular, and this year is set to be even better. How awesome is this for our soccer community?
Yeah, it's massive for the soccer community. So I'm not playing in it, and I didn't play in it last year, but I attended a few of the games last year, and it was super fun just to see everyone out, see Strathclair full. It was just great, and again, like you said, more teams, more groups, more everything. More of a good thing is never kind of enough. I think it's going to be a fantastic turnout this weekend. Again, like I said, I'm not playing, but definitely going to be spectating. I know you and a bunch of the boys are going to be there, so I'm very much looking forward to being there.
Yeah, it was a beautiful way that you put it there. It's fantastic. Yeah, more of something good is never bad. So I really like that. I'm going to use that in the future. I'll be in the classroom, so that's great. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing this weekend. And we're going to talk a little bit more here about how the tournament is going to look. Local teams, as well as teams from around the province, will be playing in the tournament throughout its various divisions, as we just mentioned. The tournament weekend aligns with the Italian festival that takes place here in Sault Ste. Marie. To accompany a full weekend of soccer at Strathclair Park, there will be food and beer tents for adults, an inflatable park for kids, a dunk tank, face painting, soccer bubble ball, foam soccer, concession stands, batting cages, and live bands. The fact that this has gone up, I would say, well, more than a level, but at least a level from what we experienced last year, I think that's a good sign of things to come for our soccer community, in my opinion. And we see these things happening throughout the province every single weekend in the summer. And now we're fully in the mix here. So do you think this is a step in the right direction for our city?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, just kind of taking it back as just for the city, like I think to get teams from Sudbury, I think there were teams from North Bay last year.
Thunder Bay.
Thunder Bay, that's what it was. Like, you're getting, guys traveling, 5, 6, 7 hours to be here to play. It's a really big thing. And like you said, for this to kind of become a bigger thing, to grow, I think it's good for, obviously the economy in the city, which is a fantastic thing, but just for the soccer community itself, yeah, just absolutely huge. And yeah, just growing and evolving. Yeah, I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, and I'm fully with you there. And the other point too to be made is that there's now more out of town teams coming. The likes of Barrie, Timmins is also coming up. And
Wow.
others. So yeah, there's people from various places throughout our province coming, which is definitely a good thing. The second annual Copa de Giovanni tournament will take place, as mentioned, at Strathclair Park beginning Friday evening, July 5th. Games will be played all morning, day, and evening on Saturday, July 6th. The semifinals and finals will be played Sunday morning and afternoon on Sunday, July 7th. This is set to be a great weekend of soccer, Gitano. Free entry, by the way, for all people. You don't have to pay to get in. Do you think that we can expect some decent crowds at the weekend?
Oh yeah. I mean, the couple of games that I attended last year, again, like in the morning, 11, 12 o'clock, the parking lot was bumping, the food trucks were going. So I can only assume that kind of with the, enhanced experience of, what they're bringing compared to last year, that, the crowds are only going to be enhanced more. It should be great.
Yes, and definitely looking forward to playing, looking forward to the spectacle, and anyone who is in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, or in the area this upcoming weekend, please do come out and check out some games, and not just for that, but the spectacle that's surrounding the event, because it definitely is going to be a good weekend of footy and the festival that comes with it. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you're listening to Full Time on the Game Sports Podcast and 91 Network. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. You can download and access the Pizza Portal app for any of the 2 locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Have a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Full Time. As we bring today's show to a close, we want to send you, all of our listeners, the most sincere thanks for spending some time with us. G, as always, a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. So glad we got to revel in the U.S. crashing out in the group stage together. Hits a little deep. But in all seriousness, yeah, fantastic episode. Thank you for having me once again.
No problem, brother. Always a pleasure. And we get to do it again very, very soon. A reminder to our listeners that the next episode of Full Time will be recorded the week of July 8th, 2024. And in that show, we will look at Euro 2024, the Copa America, the summer transfer market, and local soccer. As always, we will keep everyone in the loop with all of the happenings in the world of football. For weekly content, make sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe to all platforms of both the Game Sports Podcast and 91 Network on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Podbean. For Gitano Gallo, my name is Daniel Scarpino, and thank you for tuning in to Full Time. We look forward to seeing you at kickoff next time back here on the Game Sports Podcast and 91 Network. Best always.